Hello there! Welcome to the world of Pokémon. My name is Zelgarath. People sometimes call me the Pokémon blogger. This world is inhabited and possibly inhibited by creatures called Pokémon. For some people, Pokémon are funny cartoon creatures. Others use them for fights. Myself? I'm a bit of a completionist. Year 3 of Pokémon GO started with trading being the newest feature, and ended with the prospect of being able to play Pokémon GO while asleep. In the middle of all that, Pokémon GO became the only known way to capture a certain mythical Pokémon in the main series, as well as the only known method for evolving it. Though it started its life as a spin-off game, Pokémon GO is transforming into something more directly related to the regular games. It's yet to be seen how far this evolution will go, and so that will be one thing I'll be paying attention to when making these yearly anniversary videos. Yet again, I would like to make some corrections to things I said in the previous Pokémon GO anniversary video. Last time I said that Feebas requires 10 kilometers of buddy walking to evolve, but it really takes 20. Furthermore, during the Year of the Dog event, only Poochyana's evolution family was added to be shiny. And I also forgot to mention that last year, XH John sent me a cool patch for getting to level 40, which he got from a sprint store. When Year 3 started, I was trying to hatch a Summer Hat Pichu, and I eventually did. But not before Articuno Raid Day occurred, which was a new experiment by Niantic. For 3 hours per global region, almost every gym had Articuno raids with the added possibility for Articuno to be shiny. And this incentivized people to come out and raid together during that time. They did an event like this for all 3 Cantonian legendary birds, as well as Gengar, Lapras, and eventually Raikou. At the ones I went to, it was amazing because there were just mobs of people playing Pokémon GO, just like there were during the first few weeks of the game in 2016. While being organized wasn't strictly needed for these events, I joined a raiding group who started on one side of the downtown area and battled their way across to the other side. 5 free raid passes were given to each account as long as they used them up during the event. But a lot of people, myself included, raided far more than 5 times during each event. During the Articuno raid event, I finally got my Silver Battle Legend medal for completing 100 legendary raids, which in my community was unimpressive, someone in town already having done over 1,000, and that was within the first year of legendary raids being available. Recently during the Raikou raid event, I joined a van of players and we drove a long distance in order to complete 27 raids within the 3-hour time limit. For that one, I was able to get 4 shiny Raikou when I did those 27 raids. On foot, I participated in raid days for Articuno, Zapdos, and Gengar, although I missed the ones for Moltres and Lapras because of work. During the Zapdos raid event, I caught a shiny Zapdos. Raid days are something that will probably continue to happen a few times per year. Aside from that, the monthly community days are definitely here to stay. This year, the community days from July 2018 through June 2019 were Squirtle, Eevee, Chikorita, Beldum, Cyndaquil, a remix of the previous 11 community days, Totodile, Swinub, Trico, Bagon, Torchic, and Slackoth. During those community days, I caught 2 shiny Squirtles, one of which I evolved into Blastoise with sunglasses, 12 shiny Eevees, 4 shiny Chikoritas, 4 Beldum, another Charmander, Eevee, Chikorita, Beldum, and Squirtle, 2 Totodiles, 1 Swinub, 4 Tricos, 3 Bagons, 4 Torchic, and 3 Slackoth. The Eevee Community Day was extended to be 2 community days because Eevee evolves into so many things. I was able to save extras so that I could get shinies of the evolutions that weren't in the game yet, aren't in the game yet, and aren't in any game yet. The Chicago Pokémon GO Fests of 2018 and 2019 both occurred during the 3rd year of Pokémon GO, and they featured unique special research that resulted in participants catching Celebi before anyone else could in 2018, and Jirachi before anyone else could in 2019. In 2018, the India-exclusive Pokémon Torkoal also appeared there, as well as what apparently was the first instance of the question mark unknown appearing in the wild. In 2019, the Northern Earth exclusive Pokémon, Pachirisu, appeared there for participants to catch. In order to create a more immersive experience, habitats were rendered physically in Grant Park, corresponding to the in-game story presented in the special research. The rest of the world eventually got the special research A Ripple in Time for Celebi, and so after some time-consuming tasks, like catch a Pokemon 3 days in a row, followed by a lot of walking tasks, followed by visit Pokestops for 7 days in a row, I caught a Celebi myself. My busiest day started with catching a Pokemon after midnight, hatching 9 eggs that I had brought to near hatch the day before, and then walking more than 15 kilometers to evolve an Espeon and then an Umbreon, and then spinning the Pokestop nearest to my house. The Celebi special research also introduced a new item, the Silver Pineapple Berry, which has the same catch rate boost as a Golden Raspberry, but it's also a Pineapple Berry which doubles the candy that you obtain when you catch something. At the time of this recording, we are still waiting for the Worldwide Jirachi special research task. An image released by Niantic celebrating the 2nd anniversary of Pokémon GO included Pokémon from Generation 4, which was the first indication that Sinnoh Pokémon would appear in the game. But overall, I personally found the introduction of Generation 4 to be underwhelming, because they dragged it out a few species at a time. When Year 2 of Pokémon GO ended, they were in the process of releasing the Alolan form Pokémon. I caught the Alolan Geodude and Diglett families shortly after they appeared one day. Eventually, Alolan Raichu and Marowak appeared in 3 and 4 star raids respectively, and I caught several of those, finishing my collection of Alolan form Pokémon. In Pokémon GO, it's impossible for regular Execute, Pikachu, or Cubone to evolve into their Alolan evolutions. But I feel as if they missed an opportunity by not making those evolutions possible in Hawaii. At some point, Spinda was added to the game. Spinda is a troublesome Pokémon. In the regular games, the amount of physical variations of Spinda is 2 to the 32nd power, or 4,294,967,296. Luckily, the Pokédex indicated that there would only be 8 forms in the game, which was good because only 1 Spinda form could be caught per month from completing a specific research task. I figured that if all the Spinda forms were in the game, we would get the last one on July 1st of the year 357,915,959 AD. And by that point, the sun will have already burned out. Unfortunately, the number of Spindas in the game was increased to 20 before we could finish getting the first 8. Also, Form 9 was introduced during the Valentine's Day event, and it's a form of Spinda that was previously exclusive to a certain episode of the Pokémon anime. Every Spinda form has a shiny variant which differs in pattern slightly from the non-shiny form. I've decided to ignore them. Hopefully it won't be too difficult to obtain the rest of the 20 non-shiny Spindas, but it's taking forever. After I caught my first Spinda, I spent some energy looking for the elusive Pokemon Lunatone. The weather was partly cloudy one night, and so I decided to stake it out, since it never appears during the day. I spotted it a few times on my radar during the night, but I was always too late to run after it. That morning at sunrise, I saw that a new Lunatone spawned at the end of a wharf, and so I walked over to it in order to greet it. It was at that point that I once again had caught every species of Pokemon ever available in New England. The trading feature was the big new thing at the beginning of Year 3. One thing I wanted to do was trade for all the Pokemon that I couldn't catch in my own region. I was somewhat but not completely successful in that endeavor. One day, a tourist from New Zealand put a Relicanth in a gym that was near me. I was able to identify the person, and he offered to trade me a Relicanth in return for anything. In retrospect, I should have given him something better for it. Later, someone traded me a Torkoal that they had caught from the Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago. When I was on vacation in Maine, I traded with a Pokemon trainer from Mexico who gave me a Corsola. I traded with a World Traveler and got Mr. Mime, a Floridian and got Heracross, and when a family from England who all shared one account visited my hometown, I traded them an Illumise for a Volbeat. Someone caught a Tropius for me when they were in southern Spain, and a friend of mine traded me a new regional Pokemon, Carnivine, which exclusively appears in the southeastern part of the United States as well as the Caribbean. But before that happened, there was a pretty cool event that occurred concerning regional Pokémon. There was a special event where Mewtwo appeared as a regular non-EX legendary raid. Meanwhile, for a limited time, it was possible to hatch the 4 Cantonian regional Pokémon from 7-kilometer eggs. No matter where you were in the world, you could hatch them from those eggs. I already had a Tauros from living in New England, and Farfetch'd from participating in a previous event, but my goal was to hatch my own Kangaskhan and Mr. Mime. Every day I would walk around my neighborhood before work, and I would open the maximum number of gifts per day, in order to maximize the number of 7-kilometer eggs I could hatch during the event. I got Kangaskhan quickly, but I hatched Mr. Mime on my 53rd egg. Altogether I walked 28 kilometers for the event. I decided that despite trading being a new feature, I would try to catch as many Pokemon as I could by myself. For me, getting regional Pokemon from other people would be more of a side project. Early in Year 4, someone traded me a Pachirisu, but I'm still missing Chatot, who is only available in the Southern Hemisphere. The Pokemon from Generation 4 were slowly added to the game. Instead of releasing them in waves, they released them in ripples. I was able to catch all of them that appeared in New England, except for Gible and its evolutionary family. If you have a 10-kilometer egg, Gible has about a 1% chance of hatching from it. Otherwise, currently, it's even more rare in the wild. I'm sure I'll get one eventually. When Shinx was added to the game, Luxio started hatching from 10-kilometer eggs. When that happened, I started to suspect that Niantic doesn't have any Pokemon Masters in their programming department. Initially, Niantic released both forms of Shellos worldwide, but then a few minutes later they made the Eastern form exclusive to the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western form exclusive to the Western Hemisphere. But not before a lot of lucky people got both forms. I was working at the time, so I didn't catch the Eastern form. I found this mistake to be disappointing for a company so strongly associated with Nintendo, since Nintendo is usually known for making high-quality products. For Niantic, it's not like mistakes like this are a one-time thing either. I feel as if they should test any changes they make to the game before they make them go live. That way, stuff like this wouldn't happen as often as it does. Occasionally, they make good mistakes, like the one time they reduced the cost of adding a second charge move by 75% for a few minutes. Player versus player Pokemon battling was added to the game. Pokemon battling in Go has depth, and there's an online community taking advantage of the new feature, but I'm not really interested in battling, aside from eventually getting some medals out of the way. Also, the Ace Trainer medal is now possible to work on again due to this feature. So except for the event-exclusive medals, it seems that they're all here to stay until Pokemon Go reaches its endpoint. By battling with other people up to 3 times a day, or training against your team leader, one possible participation prize is an item called a Sinnoh Stone. It can be used to evolve various Pokemon into their Generation 4 evolutions. However, even after we had Sinnoh Stones, the evolutions that used them were added slowly over the course of several updates. This item originally appeared in a fan game on Roblox called Project Pokémon. So, that's a little weird. Clamperl was introduced during a research event. Since Clamperl evolves randomly, I was anxious to get both of its evolutions. In the allotted time of the event, I did 56 Clamperl research tasks, 11 of which resulted in me getting shiny Clamperls. Unfortunately, the first 6 of them that I evolved were all Huntail. My 7th and last possible evolution of the day resulted in me getting shiny Gorbis. I'll probably get a non-shiny Gorbis too at some point, but yellow is fine. Near the end of Year 3, special lures were added to the game which could be used as a method for evolution. Mossy lures attract grass, bug, and poison-type Pokemon, and they turn Pokestops into places where you can evolve Eevee into Leafeon. Glacial lures attract water and ice-type Pokemon, and they turn Pokestops into places where you can evolve Eevee into Glaceon. Magnetic lures attract electric, steel, and rock-type Pokemon, and they turn Pokestops into places where you can evolve Nosepass into Probopass, and Magneton into Magnezone. You can buy special lures from the shop, but when I could, I used other people's lures to perform the evolutions I required. The only Pokemon seemingly exclusive to these special lures is Cherubi, which, aside from being hatched, can only spawn from a mossy lure. Currently, its evolution Cherum is quite common in the wild, though. The type of Cherum that spawns is based on the weather. Sunshine form Cherum appears when the weather is clear, and its overcast form appears in every other type of weather. And just like cast form, in Pokemon Go, Cherum's form can never change. Burmy was added to the game, and we're pretty sure that the form of Burmy that spawns is based on the biome in which it appears. I got all 3 forms of it and Wormadam after I collected some Burmy candy. There was a special research task called A Spooky Message. That quest line was available around the time of Halloween, and it was the only way to catch the Pokemon Spiritomb. A big motif of this quest was the number 108. Because Spiritomb is said to be the combination of 108 souls trapped in an odd keystone. The tasks are to catch 10 Ghost-type Pokemon, make 8 Great Throws, use 108 berries, catch 10 Dark Pokemon, visit 8 new Pokestops, and catch 108 Pokemon. The rewards were several instances of 10 Pokeballs along with 8 Silver Pinap Berries, as well as instances of 108 10 Stardust and 108 10 experience points. Mime Jr. is the only baby Pokemon not in the game yet, and that would be because it evolves into what is currently a regional exclusive Pokemon, Mr. Mime. I've been wondering what they're going to do about this problem ever since the first year of Pokemon Go, since it's customary for regional exclusive Pokemon to not belong to an evolutionary family. We still don't have our answer, but we'll probably get one in Year 4. The new legendary Pokemon introduced in raids during Year 3 were as follows. After the Regice raids, there were raids for Registeel, Regirock, Giratina Altered Form, Cresselia, Heatran, Palkia, Dialga, Giratina Origin Form, and in my region, Azelf. The Lake Trio were initially released worldwide as regional spawns. However, they would appear even less often than the ultra-rare Pokemon Unknown. Shortly after that, Azelf appeared in raids in America, Mesprit appeared in raids in Western Eurasia and Africa, and Uxie appeared in raids in Eastern Asia and Oceania. So far, these raids have not rotated regions. But given time, they'll eventually have to, either in a scheduled way or for some special event. After Mewtwo became a normal 5-star raid boss, EX raids changed from being Mewtwo raids to being Deoxys raids. For a while it was normal form Deoxys, then attack form, then defense form, and then finally speed form. It's possible that EX raids will change once again, and if I were to guess the Pokemon that'll take its place, I would say possibly the mythical Pokemon Arceus, since it technically has 18 different forms they could cycle through. Interestingly, although Deoxys is a mythical Pokemon, though it can't be traded, it can be transferred. That's probably because, unlike Mew and Celebi, one can get an unlimited number of Deoxys. A new feature that was introduced this year is called Lucky Pokemon. Sometimes when you trade a Pokemon with someone, both Pokemon will become lucky. If a Pokemon is lucky, you don't have to use as much Stardust to raise its power. Stardust is a precious resource, so it's a good idea to take advantage of lucky Pokemon if you're raising Pokemon to use in raids. Also, if you become best friends with someone, continuing to raise your friendship level can trigger Lucky Friendship. If you're lucky friends with someone, the next trade you have with them will automatically be a lucky trade, making both of the Pokemon you trade away lucky. And after you do that trade, the lucky friend status disappears. But if you keep raising your friendship, you can be lucky friends again. I traded with lucky friends in order to get some lucky Tyrannitars. And now that I've powered them up, I can use those Tyrannitars to raid against Psychic Pokemon. I eventually got the Idol Medal, and although I only have a Bronze Unknown Medal, I'm not going to trade for any Unknown forms that I didn't catch myself. Some people have successfully gotten the Golden Unknown Medal by trading, but that strategy isn't my way of playing. Even if my policy dooms me into never getting the Golden Unknown Medal, I think I can live with that. At some point, data miners found a strange-looking Pokemon in the network traffic. I wasn't so sure about its legitimacy at first, But it turns out that a new Pokemon exclusive to Pokemon Go was on the way. One day, the Pokemon Meltan seemed to appear everywhere, only to be revealed as Dittos in disguise. Eventually, Meltan was able to be captured by using a special item called a mystery box, which is unlocked by sending any amount of Pokemon from Pokemon Go to a copy of Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee. When those games finally came out, I played Let's Go Pikachu far past the end of the main story. I even defeated every one of the Master Trainers and became the Grandmaster, satisfying my enormous ego. I also played my way through the Meltan Special Research, which came out on the same day as Let's Go. Because I had my Nintendo Switch with me so often, I became one of my community's sources for mystery boxes. When you use a mystery box, wild Meltans appear for 30 minutes like when you use an incense. Initially, the maximum number of Meltans that would appear during the half hour was 10, but that was raised to 20 after a while. After the duration of the 30 minutes, in order to use the mystery box again, you would have to wait 7 days and then transfer another Pokemon to a Let's Go game. Meltan is the only known mythical Pokemon able to be evolved. And although it can be sent to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, it can't evolve into Melmetal in that game. The only known way to evolve a Meltan is to feed it 400 Meltan candies in Pokemon Go. It is the evolution exclusive to Pokemon Go. I was willing and able to help people in my community renew their ability to use the mystery box. To the best of my knowledge, my particular file in Let's Go Pikachu has activated a total of exactly or slightly lower than 192 mystery boxes. And those mystery boxes were activated on various Pokemon Go files. Sometimes Meltan has the ability to be shiny during an event, and when that happens, it only takes 3 days of waiting between each time you can renew the mystery box. I was able to obtain one shiny, and I evolved it into Melmetal. Maybe someday I'll catch some extras to send forward to other games. When transferring to Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, it was found that the level they arrive at in Let's Go corresponds exactly to the hidden level value of each Pokemon, meaning that Pokemon that get sent from Pokemon Go to Let's Go can be as weak as level 1 and as strong as level 40. One interesting item that I got, along with Let's Go Pikachu, was the Pokeball Plus. It works like a Pokemon Go Plus, but it has extra features, like the ability to send Pokemon to it and take them for a walk. I think it's cool because it's the first time you can buy a Pokeball in real life. That is, a Pokeball that actually works and can hold a Pokemon. Not a toy Pokemon, a genuine Pokemon from the game. Although I must admit, it is expensive. I just wish the price match people would honor the deals I get at the Pokemart. In 2019, new Pokemon games were announced. They are Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, and they take place in the Galar region, which is upside down England and possibly Scotland. Pokemon can be sent from Pokemon Bank, Let's Go, and Pokemon Go to a future app called Pokemon Home. But some of the Pokemon are going to be trapped in Pokemon Home once they're there. The Pokemon Company has decided to only program a certain amount of Pokemon into Sword and Shield, and only those species of Pokemon will be permitted to enter the Galar region. I don't like this decision at all, because now that it's been made, it's very possible that we will never ever see a game with the ability to use all the Pokemon ever again. Raid battles are in Sword and Shield, along with the Premier Ball being associated with enlarged Pokemon. Initially, I thought it was copying Pokemon Go's raid battles, and maybe they are, but I heard somewhere that raid battles were developed in Sword and Shield at the same time as they were being developed in Pokemon Go. This year, there was an event for the Lunar New Year, and this time there were representatives of each member of the Chinese Zodiac. They all had increased spawns during the event. There were Spoinks, who represented the pig, Rattatas representing the rat, Miltanks representing the ox, Electabuzz somehow representing the tiger, Baneri representing the rabbit, Dratini representing the dragon, Ekans representing the snake, Ponyta representing the horse, Mareep representing the goat, Mankey representing the monkey, Torchic representing the rooster, and Puccina representing the dog. The point I would like to make is that besides these 12, there were increased spawns for the other fire starters along with Torchic, which gives some credibility to a long-running fan theory that I put a lot of stock in. That theory is that the fire starters of each generation of Pokemon each represent a member of the Chinese Zodiac. Charizard represents the dragon, even though he's not an Eastern dragon. Typhlosion represents the rat, even though he's not exactly a rat. Blaziken represents the rooster. Infernape represents the monkey. Emboar represents the pig. Delphox represents the dog, even though she's more of a fox. It's close enough. Incineroar represents the tiger, and whatever Scorbunny evolves into represents the rabbit. Given that this pattern doesn't deviate too much from what the actual species of the Zodiac are supposed to be, it looks like the Zodiac theory, if not initially true, has become a tradition of the developers. If one were to assume that Game Freak intends to complete the Zodiac in the next 4 generations, then there are only 4 Zodiac animals left for them to cover in generations 9 through 12. Those are, in no particular order, the ox, the snake, the horse, and the goat. In fact, now that we know that Generation 8's fire starter is a rabbit, if the Zodiac theory is true, then instead of 120 possible orders for the remainder of the Zodiac, there are only 24 orders that the last 4 generations can take. So each of the 24 orders has more than 4% chance of happening given the assumption. Take your pick. These 24 orders are ox, snake, horse, goat, ox, snake, goat, horse, ox, horse, snake, goat, ox, horse, goat, snake, ox, goat, snake, horse, ox, goat, horse, snake, ox, horse, goat, snake, ox, goat, horse, snake, horse, ox, goat, snake, horse, goat, ox, snake, goat, ox, horse, snake, goat, horse, ox, horse, ox, snake, goat, horse, ox, goat, snake, horse, snake, ox, goat, horse, snake, goat, ox, horse, goat, ox, snake, horse, goat, snake, ox, goat, ox, snake, horse, goat, ox, horse, snake, goat, snake, ox, horse, goat, snake, horse, ox, goat, horse, ox, snake, and goat, horse, snake, ox. Put your guess in the comments. Someone on Twitter already guessed ox, snake, goat, horse. Leave a comment below and I'll let you know if you're wrong in 3 years' time. Of course, if this Zodiac theory is true, one big question is what will happen if the Zodiac is completed and we reach Generation 13. Personally, I'm willing to believe that Generation 12 will be the final generation of Pokemon. But even if it isn't, I'd consider it to be a big turning point for the series. But don't worry too much about that. I did the math and it looks like we have a good 15 years between now and the end of Generation 12. Pokemon with special hats and accessories aren't able to exist in any game besides Pokémon GO, so collecting them is not entirely important for people striving to complete a living Pokédex in Pokémon Home. This year, a few more were added. Of course, there were the sunglasses Squirtle, Wartortle, and Blastoise. Then there was a special hat for Pikachu and Raichu by some kind of fashion designer. Then we got flower hats for Pikachu, Raichu, and Eevee, which meant that I also had to collect a lot of extra Eevees with flower hats. I evolved a few too many flower Jolteons, but I ended up with enough to get all the Eeveelutions including Sylveon, as well as an Eevee that will remain an Eevee, and 4 extras in case Eevee gets new evolutions later. Just like the rest of the Eeveelutions, there was a name trick to evolve Leafeon and Glaceon without the lure. Basically just name them Linnea and Ray, respectively. The name trick only works once, and I'm pretty sure the names were discovered by data mining. Data mining revealed some future costume Pokemon as well. It appears that Pikachu, Raichu, and Pichu will eventually wear a winter hat, probably this coming year, which means I'll probably be hatching some eggs at that point, but hopefully I'll have good luck. Also, Stantler has a costume ready for next Christmas. There was one last costume event this year for Detective Hat Pikachu and Raichu, because Pokemon's first live-action film was finally released. It's based on the spin-off game Detective Pikachu, and I think it was pretty good. I'm not sure if I would really recommend it to anyone who isn't a Pokemon fan, but there's a lot of Pokemon fans, so if you are one, I'd recommend it. Some people would have preferred an adaptation of a mainline Pokemon game, but I for one think they should continue making live-action films of the Pokemon spin-offs. If I were in charge, the next movie I'd make would be Pokémon Conquest, followed by Pokémon Colosseum, and finally Pokémon Mystery Dungeon. Who knows? Maybe they'll do some of those. I'm not giving up hope. One thing that came out of left field was a game called Pokémon Sleep. We don't know much about it, but it will use a device called a Pokémon GO++, which will track player sleeping patterns. The way I understand it is Pokémon Sleep is its own game, but that same device will also be able to give you benefits in Pokémon Go. I just hope that one of the medals isn't Sleep for a Year. After the announcement of Pokémon Sleep, sleeping Snorlaxes appeared in the wild. After catching one, it would be awake in your inventory, but it would keep the move Yawn. The Pokémon Smeargle was finally obtainable alongside a new feature called Go Snapshot. They finally allowed you to take augmented reality photos of the Pokémon in your inventory, and sometimes Smeargle would photobomb your picture and then become available to encounter. This could usually be done once per day, but occasionally, during an event, other Pokémon and things could photobomb you. There's a medal for getting photobombed 200 times, and I work on it every day. On April Fool's Day, Ash Hat Pikachu would photobomb your picture and become catchable. When Pokémon Go Fest of 2019 happened, members of Team Rocket photobombed participants at the event, leading me to believe that this other faction will be entering the fray in this war which is Pokémon Go. There's also a medal in the code which indicates that we'll soon be battling against Team Rocket on a regular basis. This year I finally got my Golden Champion medal for completing 1,000 regular raids. From now on, I'll be focusing on doing legendary raids with people in my community. Lately, Niantic has been doing something called Legendary Lunch and Dinner Hours, and those are instances where nearly every gym has a legendary raid available for a full hour. Whenever you can make it to a raid hour, it can be a good boost to your Battle Legend medal. I don't expect to finish in Year 4 or even in Year 5. But if one goes slow but steady, you will eventually make it to the finish line. I have about 700 legendary raids to go. I caught a few shiny Pokemon this year. Aside from the ones I mentioned earlier, I caught some shiny Gengar, a Pinsir, Shelder, Ho-Oh, 2 Kyogre, a Wingull, a Mawile from a regular raid, a Misdreavus from a regular raid, an Elekid from an egg, 2 Cresselia, an Aeron, and a Groudon. Niantic periodically adds the ability for Pokemon to be shiny, but instead of listing which ones can be shiny, I would rather tell you the first Pokemon in the Pokedex that can't be shiny, and see if it changes a year from now. The first Pokemon that can't be shiny is number 13, Weedle. The only Pokemon from Generation 3 not in the game at all yet is Kecleon, and I don't really know why. Due to an oversight, some people saw Dittos disguised as Kecleon when they were supposed to be disguised as Meltan. But that's the only time Kecleon appeared in the game so far. Of the Pokemon who originated in Generation 4, we're missing Mime Jr., Rotom, Regigigas, and all of the Mythicals. But of course, time will march on and those Pokemon will enter the game. The picture for the 3rd year anniversary of Pokemon Go features the starter Pokemon from Unova. So I'm guessing we'll see a lot of Generation 5 Pokemon in the next year. The most recent special research, called the Jumpstart Research, doesn't serve much of a purpose, except it lets players get a shiny Eevee and an easy Dragonite. But it's still nice to get special research even if it doesn't amount to much. This year has seen the addition of a few new augmented reality games. Niantic finally released Harry Potter Wizards Unite, but I'll be staying clear of that, even though I do like the Harry Potter books. One title of note was released by the Vatican. It's called Follow JC Go, and in the game, you collect saints. This reminds me a lot of the game Super 3D Noah's Ark, which was a modified version of Wolfenstein. Pokemon Go added a purchasable item called the Team Medallion, which can change what team you're on. The cost for that item is 1,000 Pokecoins, and you can only purchase it once every 365 days. So you can change your team, but doing so is a big deal. As for myself, I will remain on Team Mystic. About 15 years ago, a plot was uncovered in the Ore region involving something called Shadow Pokemon. A criminal organization called Cypher was using technology to close the hearts of Pokemon in order to make them stronger than normal. Their plot was foiled in the year 2005 when the Shadow Pokemon factory was destroyed. But there is some indication that either Cypher or its Shadow Pokemon technology is being used again. 4 years ago, a shadow Pokémon was spotted in the Ferrum region, and more recently, data miners have found a new medal in Pokémon GO referencing the purification of Pokémon. Grab your snag machines and get ready for Year 4. But first, Mewtwo with Giovanni's armor will appear in raids. I'm personally very psyched for this, and I'll raid as many as I can. I'll let you guys know how Year 4 goes in the next Pokémon GO anniversary video.